Welcome back to Shat on TV Westworld Edition. My name is Roger Roper. Alongside me is my cowpoke, Big D, Dick Ebert. And this is Shat on TV Westworld's Instacast, where we talk about the episode of Westworld immediately after we just watched it. And Big D, you and I just finished watching episode 3. And wow, it was pretty amazing.
I kept trying to get you to the mic as quick as possible because I felt like it was oozing out of my ears. There was so much to digest. I wanted to get here as quick as possible because I feel like I'm losing it by the moment. There was so much.
Yeah, in all honesty, I went to a taco festival this afternoon and may have napped during the Arnold scene with Dr. Ford and Bernard. So I had to go back and rewatch that before we popped on the cast here. So I do apologize. If you're wondering where our compadre Gene is, he is out in LA still finishing up his goth vampiric weekend. But he'll be back for the big cast tomorrow. So typically, and again, for those of you who've never tuned into one of our Instacasts, what we do here is we just kind of break down, give some overarching recap on the episode. We don't dive into too many details. We save that for the cast. So it's about a 15-20 minute cast that we'll do here. But Big D, since you've got so much stuff that you've got to get out of your mind before it goes away, what were some of the big takeaways from this episode?
Man, there's so much. So as I was taking notes and I was thinking about it, I kept thinking, okay, this is a big thing. This is a big thing. And as it just kept going by the end, I was like, oh my God, the first half of my notes are important on their own, but they don't hold up. Really important when you talk about the big themes. The big things, some of the things that I took away from it was the conversation about, we had talked in the past about why can't the host attack with blunt instruments, axes, knives, arrows. In this episode, we learn that one of the protection codes that's in the host is that they have a weapons provision. Did you pick that up?
Yeah, obviously it's shown with Dolores when Teddy is trying to teach her how to shoot, and then she can't shoot. She can't pull the trigger. So I assume that's also the same weapons provision that was programmed into the hosts.
Correct. And we see her that she's really struggling with it. She wants to shoot, but she just simply can't. And this comes up later when we have the wagon train that's lost, that's caught in a loop, which I thought was pretty funny because they lost their axe cutter. And when the axe cutter went walking, the rest of the entire wagon train, no one was qualified to swing the axe because the weapons provision was in play. So I thought that was interesting. And they used that, obviously, to explain why Dolores couldn't shoot.
Yeah, it's like playing a video game when you're on a mission with a computer AI character and they're supposed to follow you, and then they get stuck behind a tree or like a car, and you got to kind of push them along. Like, that's what I felt like. They're just kind of stuck in their loop and they can't progress anymore. But the episode was called The Stray. Now, did that mean the axe cutter who got lost off the path and was, in a ditch, like in a what do they call those? 127 hours, like when you fall down when you're a crevasse. There you go. So he's just kind of down there. Now, this show always has deeper meanings. So is the stray just that, or is there something hidden beneath in the subtleties that is the cause for the name of the stray?
Oh, I think there's multiple strays in the episode. Bernard is straying from what Dr. Ford tells him. Dolores is straying from the flock. We have the woodcutter straying. We have even Teddy was straying. I think the big one here is we're led to believe it's the woodcutter, but I think it's Dolores. And this is one of the things that kind of struck me in the beginning of the episode when she's having her usual interactions with Teddy. We can clearly see she is affected, and she is trying to pull him off course. She's off the narrative. She's no longer talking about her father and the farm and the cows and going into town. She is trying to say, have you ever wanted to change? Have you ever wanted to go somewhere? She's trying to pull him off his narrative. Did you feel that?
Yeah, absolutely. And Dr. Ford explains that the reason they put in memories of where they've been before, they try and keep them vague so that they stay on course. They stay within their narrative. They're not supposed to want to veer off, right?
And you can see there's a part where Teddy is kind of, he's perplexed. He doesn't know what to do. It was like if you were in a play and the other actor starts spouting off lines that you haven't rehearsed. Teddy doesn't know what to think. When she's talking about, let's go, and he goes, oh, someday, when I have demons, once I get over them, we'll go. And she goes, someday sounds like never. So he tries his best to rein her back in and say, well, let's go up. It's getting dark. Let's go up to the house. And she's just not having any of it. And she realizes that, Teddy's not ready to break from the script.
Well, there's a couple things that I wanted to touch on here. Some big plot items that we discovered and we found out in this. So the Man in Black, the first one, the Man in Black is not featured at all, really, in this episode. He's more of a background character. He comes up in a few flashbacks. But I think we've discovered that our prediction of when he pulls Dolores into the barn, he doesn't actually rape her. I think he sets in motion. He's playing with her diagnostics and her heuristics. He doesn't actually physically have sex with her, right?
Yeah, he's not unbuttoning his pants. He's taking out his knife because he's planning on opening her up.
Right, exactly. So that's one thing that we discovered. We also figured out that William and Logan, many people tweeted us, emailed us, and informed us that, and it's something we missed on last episode, that their relationship is based on the fact that William is about to marry Logan's sister. So that's their relationship. They're kind of brother-in-law. That's kind of their thing, which I kind of like, but you could tell Logan was frustrated with William this episode. He's like, what am I spending $40,000 out here to jerk off in the woods?
Yeah, Logan wants to have fun, and I respect that. He's playing the white hat, very well. He's rescuing the prostitute, and he's a rookie in the park. He wants to enjoy everything else, and he says, that all William wants to do is just sit around and fuck, and he wants to do more.
Right.
But I want to just go back a little bit to when we were talking about Dolores pulling off narrative and trying to get Teddy to stray. Do you think it was a coincidence that Ford then immediately pulls in Teddy and gives Teddy, for the first time, some backstory?
I think Dr. Ford is playing a dangerous game here, and I think that he's doing it. We learned later on that Dr. Ford had a partner. It came up in a lot of social media threads about what Dr. Ford's new idea, his new thing that at the end of episode 2, when he's out looking on along the arroyo, he said, "This is my next big thing," and you see the steeple with the cross on it. I think Dr. Ford is reintroducing the idea of religion into Westworld, and that's why this character Wyatt, that is the new backstory for Teddy. Wyatt is like, a former member in the army that was in his platoon and kind of went crazy and came back and started talking about God and all that stuff. So I think that's why he did it. I think
I think he
really?
he pulled Teddy in at this moment, and he gave him the Wyatt backstory as a way to keep him away from Dolores.
No.
Yeah, so now when Dolores comes up and talks about leaving, he has something to keep him anchored in Westworld and in the entire narrative. We see immediately the next day it happens. He's out in the street with Dolores. He's about to start his loop again, where they go in the field. They start talking about a future life. Dolores is going to prompt him to leave. So what happens? Wyatt just comes in conveniently. Teddy's pulled out of town on the hunt for Wyatt, and he's out of the loop. I think it was done to protect Dolores from straying any further. I think the religion and talking about, and it's a theme that they go into multiple times, where the voice in their head, in the host, where it was supposed to be kind of their inner monologue, they could also interpret it as God. So I think they're weaving those two ideas together.
What did you think of the conversation that Dr. Ford and Bernard had about Dr. Ford's former partner, Arnold? The voice that we find out that is behind the voice that leads Dolores out to find the gun, that encourages Dolores to shoot. What's the host name? The robot's name? Slim Boone Pickens. What's his name?
No, the one that they shoot. That's Rebus.
Rebus. Yeah,
that's Rebus and his old partner Walter. Yeah. Okay. So Revis is, I guess
Walter back there with the milk.
Yes, his daily loop involves raping the Abernathy's daughter in the farmhouse.
Yeah, which that's the first time that we actually see a guest on a mission with those guys. That guy, I wanted to punch that guy in the face. Like that's your. We find out that Dolores is there to satisfy the guest's need. This is how fucked up Dr. Ford is. He built a narrative whereby guests are supposed to go out with the Wyatt crew, attack the ranch, kill Teddy, and then have his way with Dolores' mother and Dolores herself. That's bonkers.
Yeah, they tried to make us think that we are seeing additional information from the first, loop that we saw day one with the Teddy and Dolores interactions. But we come to see here that this is a fairly common occurrence, that, the local wealthy douchebag who's not happy going to the brothel has to go out with these goons and rape an innocent girl because they want it's filthy to even think about the fact that they're getting off on it. And it makes me feel, again, if any one of these hosts has a right to revolt and start killing people, it's Dolores.
Oh, my God. I think I tweeted out during the live tweeting session. It was like, dear humanity, be nice to robots.
This might not even be a virus. This just might be just... It just might be she just snapped. It didn't need anything than the 50th time she was raped by some douchebag.
Yeah, so I mean, what did you think? Do you here's my impression of it. I think that Dr. Ford, we're supposed to believe, is almost like a god figure. Like going back to the idea of Genesis and Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and even Alice through the looking glass. Dr. Ford is this omnipotent creature, this godlike character who wants to keep everyone on their path, doing what he wants them to do. He doesn't want them to be covered up at all, especially like when they're down being worked on. He asks one of the technicians, "Why do you have this covered up?" Like, they can't feel, they can't think, they're not human. It's almost like God is having a conversation with his angels, right? But his partner Arnold almost was playing like the devil character, right? The Lucifer character that's rebelling against God and is wanting them to have emotions and be human and think for themselves and have sentient, and it drove him crazy, and it was almost banished out. I think Dr. Ford might have killed Arnold.
I think Dr. Ford is panicking a bit because he's feeling threatened. He views the hosts as kind of his flock. And when they're starting to go off on their own and think for themselves, it's like any cult leader who gets dissension among the ranks, they start to feel threatened and start to panic. He wants to remind everybody, these are not people. These do not have feelings. I think it's a threat to him. And the whole Arnold mystery, he says, we let everybody believe it was an accident, but I know more because he was a very precise and careful man.
Right.
We obviously have not seen the last of what really happened to Arnold.
No. So Teddy goes up, in search of Wyatt and Wyatt's crew, with the sheriff and with a couple of guests, and there seemed to be some hooded men up there, almost like they were like in a cult.
I felt like I was watching J.J. Abrams in like the second season of Lost.
Yeah. Oh,
where
100%.
All the people, where the others came running out in disguise, where they were looking like they were beasts.
It was
first,
the perfect.
First, we had that roar, which was that a black bear? Was it a dinosaur?
It was a polar bear. It was a polar bear in Lost. I felt I was about to watch a polar bear come crashing through the woods.
If we start finding underground bunkers, I'm out.
Yeah, if there are any numbers that one person has to continually put in, what is it, every 27 minutes, I'm out.
But you notice that Teddy shoots them multiple times.
Yeah, and they
without
don't go
any
down.
effect.
Yeah.
Are they wearing armor, or are they actually not hosts?
That's a good question. Could they be part of like the Arnold cult? Could they be... Who led them out there? That's my thing. And is the Man in Black involved in any of this?
So many questions.
There's so many questions that we have for this episode.
But I want to go back a little bit, if we can just backtrack.
Yeah, listen, it's an Instacast. Go wherever you want.
So when Ford is talking about Arnold, he said that Arnold's mistake was that he he wanted them to have this consciousness. He said he believed the hosts were real, and he warns Bernard clearly, don't make that same mistake. Does that lead you to believe he's on to Bernard? Because Bernard comes out in our final scene we see him with Dolores, where he fesses up and says, I think I've made a mistake. He's essentially telling us that he's had a hand in whatever has started to give free will to the hosts. Are we led to believe that Ford is onto him, or does Ford just suspect he has a hand in what's happening?
I think that Ford is onto him. Ford sees through and sees what Bernard is doing. Bernard is carrying a lot of guilt. There's more that we learned about Bernard, his home life. Bernard is, you think he's still married? There's no way that he's calling up his ex-wife and talking about his dead child, right? Like he's still married to his wife, correct?
If you want to know the vibe I got, it made me more confident that he is a host.
No way. He's not. Why would he be calling?
Oh, how do you know? We just had a bit talking about Ford feeding a backstory and how thorough it was to give a host actual drive and to feed their mission. We're followed one of the next scenes directly after where Bernard gets onto a video screen. We don't know that that's real. Talking about just reinforcing his backstory about his son. And the wife tells him, well, it's good that you have something to keep you going. Keep working. They're reinforcing. And right after this call back home, he almost gets back in line. He takes Dolores out and he says, Dolores, have I made a mistake? There's two of you. Which one do you want to be the safe or do you want the free? This call back at home was meant to pull him back online. Again, just theory. And he thinks about it until that final decision, realizing that Dolores has free will and he's going to see where it goes a little bit further. But that whole thing just seemed a bit heavy-handed and forced.
Really? I didn't catch that. So that's a fantastic theory.
Have you seen the movie? It was a short film, I think, called The Moon.
No.
Where it's a lone astronaut who works on the moon, and they're doing some kind of mining for ore. And his only contact, and he supposedly has like a 4-year mission, is through a video screen where he's talking to his wife. You know, long story short, we come to realize at the end that they are clones and that these call home are all just the method. They're kind of pre-recorded conversations to get this astronaut clone back on mission. And I totally got that vibe watching this.
The only thing that I caught was, who was it that was talking to, was it Teresa that was talking to Bernard and asking about his sleep cycles? Are your sleep cycles back in order? Or, you know, don't concern me about your sleep cycles. There was something there. And I was like, that's an interesting way to ask someone if they're sleeping good or if they need a new bed.
She should know she was in his bed no more than 48 hours earlier.
That's right. But
I think the next big thing that if we could shift to was when they finally tracked down the axe cutter and he's stuck in the crevasse.
Sure.
And they're going to pull him out. And we see that what's the security officer's name?
You're talking about
the Hemsworth brother.
Yeah. Well,
that is Stubbs.
Stubbs. Okay.
Okay, so Stubbs climbs down into the crevasse, and he says, you know, the only piece that we need is the head. He pulls out the hacksaw, or whatever kind of saw that was, and it's gross. They're cutting meat. He gets the head about halfway off, and it wakes up. Okay? It starts climbing its way out. I felt like I was watching an episode of The Walking Dead.
Right.
And it just made me wish again that The Walking Dead was on HBO, because it would be fantastic instead of the dumpster fire that it is on AMC. He climbs out, and you know that Elsie thinks she's dead.
Oh,
he's out there. He's got the saw on his neck. He picks up a rock, which I guess is in his weapons profile, a large boulder. And instead of smashing her, he beats himself to death. I got a take on this, but I want to hear yours first.
Listen, my take is that he's just gone off the rails. He's just crazy.
Okay, let me get you down my path then. By smashing himself in the head, what did he do?
Prevented them from exploring what's inside it?
It was almost a self-destruct. By beating himself over the head, he's ruined any kind of diagnostics that they could do for him to find out what had happened to him. Because we've seen hosts that go off narrative. We've never seen one that goes astray.
Right.
So this was like the cyanide capsule in his teeth. He had self-destruct.
It's a very good theory, and I think it's very accurate as well. And I almost wish that, just before this scene, she's out peeing. I wish they had left her I wish they had left her not to pee, and then she peed herself as the whole thing, because that would have been a more like realistic depiction of what really happened. But I'm glad they didn't kill off Elsie, because I really like that character, and I'm excited to see more of her story arc. Because she seems to because before this, Elsie seemed to have sympathy for the host and have sympathy for the robot, seem to be on their side. Now, will this change this interaction? Will this change her?
She seems to be the only one doing their job. She's the only one who's actually investigating the cause of this. Everyone else is sweeping it under the rug.
Well, not only, she might be doing that, but she's also stealing kisses. She's stealing artifacts from the park. Come on. You don't think she's going to return that wood whittle, do you?
I felt like I was the local fair, the weekend flea market. Yeah. And the fact that Stubbs wants to comment on how shitty that this poor woodsman's carvings were, I thought that bear was pretty badass.
Oh, my God. He was great.
And we see that Elsie's concerned that hosts now have hobbies.
Yeah, put those in the gift shop. You make a killing up there.
So what was that long shot of the actual bears and of the Orion constellation on the wood? They make a point to seem like they're surprised that hosts are doing any other thing but playing their role, that these hobbies are not built-in functions.
They are not. They shouldn't be. So it'll be, I don't know if there's a meaning behind the Orion constellation and why. Could it be an allegory for humans looking up at the stars and trying to interpret God and trying to understand their, it's like what man did, right? So is that what they're trying to connect there with, looking up at the stars and questioning God and their creation?
I think you just got me to something. I think yes. I think it's obviously man looking kind of outside our own planet and looking above for answers.
Agreed.
When Teddy is talking about Wyatt, and Wyatt went into the woods, came back with crazy ideas, we're led to believe it's religion, right?
Right.
Is it possible this cult, the one we saw all dressed up?
The Scarecrow cult? Because they're all wearing the Scarecrow masks from Batman Begins.
Yes, the Scarecrow cult is possibly a group that has already broken free, or they're part of Ford's new narrative, which is they've created their own religion.
I agree. I think this might be Ford's new religion, or Ford's new narrative that he's created, which that's a hell of a lot scarier than Odyssey at the Red River.
Yeah, we see that. It scared the shit out of like 4 guests already who wanted no part of this, where they said they should have done the riverboat mission instead. That would have scared the hell out of me. If I'm up in the woods there, it's dark, and I see those things coming at me with the dinosaur roaring, I'd be like, what park am I in?
Yeah, exactly.
This is wrong. So, like, the last thing here is the final scene.
Okay.
This is where it gets scary. Dolores now, she's in like her 3rd loop of going back to the farm at night, gates open. Father wouldn't do that past dark. She goes up to the house. Only this time, she completely glitches out. She looks down at her dead father, and for the first time, we see what she sees. And it's split screen. She sees the new father, but remembers the old father.
Right. She
then looks up, sees what's going on in the house. She's getting dragged into the barn again to get raped by, was it Wilbur?
Yeah, one of the guys with...
She was going to go get raped by Rebus.
Rebus.
She gets dragged into the barn. Rebus is about to have his way, and she looks down, and she's got the revolver in her hand. Now, this is not the revolver that she dug up before.
This is a different revolver.
This is the one she pulled it out of his holster.
Oh, she pulled it out of his holster. I thought that was the gun that she had dug up. That's cool.
Well, if it is, then it's a continuity error in the show, because the one that she dug up, we identified. I believe it was called a Labatt, which is a revolver pistol from, I think, the 1800s that had a secondary barrel below that shot buckshot.
Okay.
This pistol, again, first watching, we just watched it quick, did not have that distinct barrel. So I'm assuming, I'll have to go back and watch it, that she pulled it out of his holster while he was wrestling her.
Okay, I thought she pulled it out of the hay bale that she fell upon.
So she's going to shoot him, but we see the weapon restriction kick in until a voice tells her, kill him.
The voice of Arnold.
No, I think that might have been, because it's a voice we've never heard before.
Well, it's the voice of Arnold. No, I think we have heard Arnold's voice before. And they talk about like how original man, early man, voices in their head, they thought that was the voice of God. Right. So I believe, again, that Arnold was kind of playing a devil type character, a Lucifer type character, where he programmed. He's the cause for the malicious code that's in the hosts and is causing for these anomalies in their programming and to kind of go off script and go astray, if you will.
So here's where it's interesting to me. Not only does she remember the past, she's also able to see the future.
Yeah.
She can visualize all the narratives, so she knows that one of the goons, one of the members of the gang, is going to shoot her. She sees it happen, and she changes her entire action to avoid it. Having this knowledge, she can circumvent most things going on in the park and almost do whatever she wants. And it opens up any possibility for Dolores to grow and, like she wants, to finally become free. I think it's going to be interesting.
And it's going to be interesting because she runs into the arms of William and Logan. Like, what role will William and Logan now play in this narrative, or in this idea that she has to break free and break her bonds of her capture, or, her makers. So we'll see. It'll be neat. I'm excited for next episode. And again, jealous of the critics that have already seen these first four episodes. I'll be happy finally when the critics catch up to the rest of the world, and they're not releasing their insta-takes, the minute after the show airs, like TV Line is.
Well, we're about a third of the way through the season almost, and it is not disappointed.
No, I love it. So anyway, this was our Instacast. Follow us on Twitter. We're at Shat on TV. We're also on Instagram at Shat on TV. If you have any theories, or if there's anything that you want to expand on from our topics that we just discussed here, please email us, hosts@shatontv.com. For those of you who emailed us this past week, we'll make sure that we read your emails on tomorrow's recording, and look for our new episode to be dropped no later than Tuesday this week. But on behalf of Big D and Gene Lyons, Gene, we hope you have a safe journey back from LA, and we'll be talking to you next time here on Shat on TV Westworld.